Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and what we learned about Tasha from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So, I'll tell you, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything hit like a comet. This book, it's a must have for every dungeon master. Actually, there's all this like, oh, everything in this book is optional. Yeah, if you want to suck, right? All right, here's the thing. I think Tasha's is quite mandatory, and here's why. If you're one of those DMs who's like, oh, Tasha don't go in my game. I'm running a bunch of old nonsense where all the cool new stuff isn't in the game. Your players are gonna leave, right? Like they say it's optional, but with a book like Tasha's, when it comes down and it's got material that is clearly like leagues ahead of anything in the player's handbook, right? Or any other book for that matter. Tasha's clearly zoomed ahead of Xanathar's, right? So when you're deciding what books you want to get, you could take all the adventures, you can throw them in a dumpster, right? Like who needs who needs adventure books, right? New dungeon masters, you guys got it. You ladies and men have you guys and gals have an excuse, right? Because you got a year or two, you can run some pre-gen stuff. Once you got your sea legs, you don't need pre-gen adventures. So pre-gens don't really count, right? You got your core rule books, everybody needs them. PHB, Monster Manual, DMG. After that, it's Xanathar's and it's Tasha's, and then you got the setting books, and even the setting books for fifth edition are pretty trash. Like it's a bunch of stuff nobody asked for, and Eberron, yeah, people were asking for that, but nobody asked for Theros, nobody asked for Ravnica. Sword Coast barely counts as a setting book, and that's it. Like there's nothing left, right? And there's 100. Like, where's Planescape? Where's Dark Sun? Where's Birthright? Where's Rokugan? Right? Where's all the cool settings everybody wants? Who knows? Right? We're still waiting for them. Right? And so the thing is, it's the core three, and then it's Tasha's and Xanathar's, and those books are everywhere. Right? They're incredibly good. Xanathar's was a baller book. Right? Tasha's crushes it. Right? If you are the kind of DM who is not going to let your players run Tasha's, you're just a fun crusher, right? Like, and you really need to look in the mirror and say, hey, maybe I'll let my players have some fun, right? Like, squelching this is crazy, in my opinion. This book is straight baller, and every DM's got to get this at the table, right? So, what did we learn about Tasha? Well, it's pretty fascinating what we learned about Tasha. What we learned is Tasha is not Baba Yaga's daughter, right? This shocked me, right? It's about like in the 10th, maybe 15th page, somewhere very early in the book. Tasha comes out and goes, "Some people think I'm Baba Yaga's daughter. I'm not going to tell you I'm not. Maybe I'm Igwilv. Maybe I'm something else, right?" She gets all playful, but then on the next page it says right under her portrait that Tasha is Baba Yaga's adopted daughter. Okay? So not blood, right? That's kind of important. So here's the thing. So first of all, let's separate fiction from reality, right? So if you're adopted and you got like a mom or dad and you choose to call your adopted mom and dad your real dad, cool. More power to you, right? But in fiction, right? That ain't nothing but a big mystery. And really nobody really cares who the adopted parent is. They want to know who the real parent is cuz mystery and narrative is sweet. It's like it's the candy, right? So the thing is, we learned nothing about Tasha in this book. We actually learned that we knew less than we knew before, right? Tasha is not Baba Yaga's daughter. Let's talk about this. Why is that? Why did Wizards of the Coast go to the trouble of telling us Tasha is not Baba Yaga's daughter? Well, it's definitely a sad face answer, but let's get into it. This heritage thing, man, like the game is called Heritage Race for a long time, right? Wizards of the Coast is transitioning into calling race lineage, right? But the reality is, Dungeons and Dragons struggles with this issue so much, and they get kicked in the teeth by virtually every culture out there, right? So if they had kept Tasha as Baba Yaga's daughter, it would have tied it directly to Russian culture, right? And I think Dungeons and Dragons is afraid to celebrate any culture now, right? They're because if they celebrate it, it can be considered appropriation if it's done even slightly off angle, right? And Chult, they tried to celebrate culture in Chult, got it wrong, and got their teeth kicked in, right? And so I think the reality is they knew they needed to build an out, and they could not actually attach Tasha to Baba Yaga's daughter. And I think, why are we talking about this today? The future of Dungeons and Dragons is not going to celebrate any cultures, any human cultures. I think it's going to have to get more and more alien and more disconnected from humanity. Um, I wish there was a safe way for them to move forward and celebrate culture, but the reality is there really isn't, right? Even if they hire the best safety counselors and the best gender coaches and the best, preference culture coaches, it won't matter. And the reason why is, one of the things that's super clear. We've seen this with Session Zero, right? Session Zero was considered a progression of the game, right? Recently, Jennifer Kretschmer came out and said progression Session Zero was just a bunch of people asking their players to talk about their traumas, right? So those people who are so woke running Session Zeros are now really, trauma triggers, right? And so the reality is there's just no way to win. And I think rather than trying to continue to try to be woke and arrive there, I think you're going to see WotC and Hasbro just kind of shrivel and kind of like tuck and just kind of guard themselves. And that's what I read in this. Tasha is Baba Yaga's adoptive daughter, right? Because they needed an out. They needed a way to pull the cord and say, oh, no, 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 we were never talking about Russian culture. We were never celebrating Russian culture, right? Because any way it went, somebody was get offended. And I'm hoping that they can find a way to beat this and get on the other side of it. But I don't think they can. And I think that's a little sad. I think we should be able to celebrate everyone's culture. We should be able to celebrate African culture and Asian culture and Hispanic culture and Jewish culture and Caucasian culture and, all the wonderful cultures of the world. We should be able to get there. But the reality is, I think, for safety's sake, D&D, because it's so high profile, right? Boy, man, and boy, are they high profile. I feel so bad for Wizards of the Coast. They take it on the teeth on virtually every decision they make, and companies like Modifius just skate off, right, with games like Conan, getting virtually no pushback, that have crazily more, inappropriate content from a culture, gender, preference perspective, and nobody cares because nobody's really buying those games at the scale that people buy D&D. And so I really thought this was just absolutely fascinating, right? That D&D did not feel safe saying that Tasha was Baba Yaga's daughter, and it shows, kind of the future of the game. Maybe they can have more room to move if we as a community start to give them space to move, right? And don't immediately just kind of drown out their attempts at celebrating culture. Maybe. I don't know if that's going to happen. Do you have more hope than I do? I hope so, right? Is there things I'm missing here? Is there a path to hope that I'm not seeing? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.